Hello, everyone, and welcome to this section of building up your dividend growth stock portfolio. And in this lesson, this is probably the most important section of the entire strategy. So we'll be looking how to grade dividend growth stocks and find the best ones for our portfolio. Now, for dividend growth investors, the following lesson could be the most important information. And it lays out the key steps that you should take when deciding what stocks to buy and when to buy them. So in this video, I'll try to guide you step by step by using some free resources on the internet that you can use to build up your watch list and grade the stocks that do matter. Okay, so why do we grade stocks? Well, when we select stocks to invest, we need to grade them, and the reason is because there is no perfect stock. When you examine the details of individual companies, different pieces of information tells different stories. So sometimes the stories conflict. One metric will be positive, like a high yield, but another will be negative. Grading helps us put together a unified view about the company prospects. Also, help us to avoid overlooking all over the place. So we grade a variety of metrics about every company, and the system acts as a checklist of what to look at. So the following each step ensures that we don't overlook anything important. And last, it saves work. So some of the grading factors act as a screens. For example, a stock with a lousy dividend safety grade is not a candidate for purchase. So if you spot a disqualifying factor early, you can drop further research and save a lot of work. So we present here a distillation of what we have learned about scoring dividend growth stocks. Consider it as a basic system to start with, one that you can adjust and improve as you learn about stocks. In your own work, you may want to weight some factors more heavily than others. So this way, you will also certainly want to apply the scoring factors differently when you encounter specific situations. So use your judgment, add or drop factors, change weights, customize it however you wish, but at the minimum, we suggest that you use it as a checklist of things to look at when you are considering a stock. One thing we observed over the years is that whatever the details of the system you use, the cream always rises to the top. So the best companies emerge and the weaker companies sink. All right. So in this example, we'll take a look at Intel Corporation. Now everyone knows Intel. There is no doubt that has been really a good company, but still we need to grade and give it a score. So we use our company analysis spreadsheet. So it's a grading system with 21 factors divided into 6 categories. Now, it looks like complicated, but it's really easy. So basically, we'll try to use some information around the web. However, I do suggest that you subscribe to Morningstar. It's the only paid service that you should subscribe. So our company analysis spreadsheet, we have here the company checklist overall. It's a resume about the scoring of the different categories, okay? So on the first one, we do have company quality. Here, we'll take a look at the company rating. So we're looking at depth and what is the rating. Then we'll take a look at Morningstar MOAT and Petrovsky F-score. So these give us overall a really good perspective about the company quality. Then we'll take a look at the dividend. So what is the current dividend yield? What has been the past 3 and 5 years dividend growth rate, the dividend payout ratio, dividend yield on cost, and for how long has the company been paying dividends? So these give us a really good view about the company dividend policy. Next, we'll take a look at management. So how is the management doing? Are they able to return capital to its investors? What has been the return of assets? What is the current financial strength of the company? The current ratio, the profitability. So all metrics that give us information how the management is performing, all right? Next, we'll look at products. Is the company making money with its products? So what has been the three-year total revenue growth? What is the operation margin? What is the net margin? Then we'll look at relative valuation. Now, as value investors, the majority of the companies that we do analyze, they are at discount. So this means that we are value investors. So normally companies with the price earnings well below the industry, sometimes well below their historic price to earnings ratio. Same with price sales, price book, and EV to EBITDA. And last, we'll take a look at what would be the fair price, all right? So we already covered this in a previous lesson, but overall, here is where we will try to give the company the fair value due to the current price and some metrics, all right? So let's get started. So we'll start with the company quality, and you do see that we use a color scoring system. It's pretty easy, right? And it can be fun. So the first thing we'll take a look is what is the rating, all right? So for here, we'll use the S&P Global Ratings, and we will be searching for Intel. So let's take a look. So if we submit, let's take a look at the current Intel Corporation, the current rating. And we do have A+, all right? So the rating for Intel, stable, A+. So let's use this information. So current rating, it's an A+. And here we'll use the color scoring system. So we have an A+ comes into this category, so light green. And for light green, we have a 2, so we score it a 2. So really, really easy. Then we'll take a look at Morningstar MOAT. And Morningstar MOAT is basically a rating system from Morningstar regarding the company products. Does the company has any advantage, any competitive advantage with its products, all right? So this is the service that I do suggest you subscribe, because it's really, really full of information that we can use. And we see here that the economic MOAT is white, all right? So let's use this information, white MOAT for Intel products. And here, white, it's dark green. So dark green is a 3. So let's score it 3. And then we'll take a look at Petrovsky F-score. And here, again, we'll use Guru Focus, okay? So excellent website with lots of financial ratios, metrics that you can use for free, all right? So Petrovsky F-score, it's a 7, all right? So the maximum score will be a 9. Intel scores a 7, as we can see here. And for a 7, we have light green. So good comes from 7 and 8. So light green, we score a 4. So here there is no doubt that the company, it's really a really good company quality, all right? So we have 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3, 4 out of 5, so 82%. well above average. So if we go here to the company checklist, we do have here the 82 out of 100, all right? So regarding company quality, we already know Intel, really solid company, so there is no surprise here. Now let's take a look at the dividend, and let's take a look at the dividend yield. Now here we'll use Guru Focus again. So if we scroll a little bit down, we have here all the information regarding dividends. So the dividend yield currently for Intel is 2.73. So 2.73. And now let's use the color scheme to score Intel. So we have yellow for industry or versus industry. So for yellow, we score dividend yield, we score for yellow a 2. Now let's take a look at its history. And again, its history, we do have an orange, all right? So as an orange, we have to score 1. See how easy this is? Then let's take a look at the dividend, 3-year dividend growth rate. Now for the 3-year dividend growth rate, we have 70.7. So 70.7, 7.7, sorry guys. Now again, let's take a look at the color scheme. So we have orange versus the industry. So versus the industry, we do have orange. So we do have a 1. And versus its history, we have a red. So as for a red, you can see here 0. Now let's take a look at the 5-year dividend. And here, if we click on the 3-year dividend growth rate, we'll open a new window, and we have all the information here on the left side. And if we open the dividend tab, so we click on dividend, and now we have the 5-year dividend growth rate. Click it there, and we have the Intel 5-year dividend growth rate 6.1%. So 6.1%. So how now here it gets a little bit tricky, because now we have to match what is the current dividend yield, which 2.73%. So 2.73% fits between the 2 and 4%. So we'll take a look at this middle column, all right? Next, we have 6.1% growth rate over the past 5 years. So a 6.1% will come here in the yellow color. So in between the 5 and 9% per year, all right? So we will score a 2, all right? See how easy? Then we have the dividend payout ratio. Now let's go back again. Here, dividend payout ratio, 0.29, so 29%. So 0.29, which is a low payout ratio. It's okay, right? Now again, color scheme. So versus industry, light green. Now, dividend payout ratio, we'll take a look at this column. So light green, it's a 3. Now versus its history, let's go back. So versus its history, we have this dark green. So dark green, we'll score it a 4. Now we'll take a look at the dividend yield on cost. So dividend yield on cost over the past 5 years, 3.71%. All right, so dividend yield on cost, 3.71. Let's take a look at the color scheme. So yellow versus the industry. So dividend yield on cost, yellow, it's a 2 versus its history. So versus its history, we do have orange. So orange, it's going to be a 1. So we can start to see that Intel is really definitely a good company, high quality, but the dividend is not as good as we would think. Now let's take a look at how many or how long has Intel paying its dividend. Now there are many free resources out there where you can check this information, but you can use DV data, all right? So if you insert the tick, so Intel, here we go. It will give us a full detail about the company dividend. So easy, really easy website, very clean, all right? So we do have here overall rating, so above average, the dividend yield above average, dividend history, excellent, stability, excellent. And let me see, years paying dividend for Intel, 26 years, all right? So we have here the current dividend yield, the annual dividend, last dividend, and so on. So ex-dividend date as well. So 26 years, 26 years, let's see how we score. So 26 years comes into the 25, 49 years. So we light green, we will score these as a 3, right? And again, so it's really definitely a good company, high quality, but the dividend is really, really, I wouldn't say bad, but 48 out of 100, it's not even 50%, all right? Now, you can use, again, you can use DV data to see the dividend history for Intel. So we have here the chart, all right? We can see here the dividend history. So the company always have been increasing its dividend over the past 26 years. So this is what we really want to see. Now let's take a look at management. So again, Guru Focus website. What is the return on capital invested? So what's the current value? Let's take a look at Guru Focus. Okay, so here we do have return of capital, right? 45.37, 45.37. Now let's use the color scheme versus industry. Light green. So light green, it's a 3 versus its history. Let's take a look at the color. So we have orange. So orange will be a 1, all right? So score a 1. Now let's take a look at the return of assets. Again, return of assets, 15.37. So 15.37. And what is the color scheme? So versus industry, it's dark green. So dark green, it's a 4. And we do have a light green versus its history, right? So here we have it, light green. Light green will be a 3, okay? Financial strength. So financial strength, we have 7 out of 10, okay? So we'll score a 7, and the 7 comes in between the range of 6 to 8. So we score it 3. Current ratio. So current ratio, we have to go to the right. So here we have it, current ratio, 148. Now, versus the industry, it's orange. So current ratio, orange is a 1. And versus its history, we do have a red. So current ratio red, we will score a 0. Profitability. Do you think Intel is profitable? I think there is no doubt about that. So 9 out of 10. So a 9. And the 9 fits in the top range, dark green. So we will score this a 5. So overall, in terms of management, really good management, above average, so 61% for management. And you see here, we do see our matrix starting to build up here. So we have company quality, 82%, dividend a little bit poor, so 48%, management, 61%. Now let's take a look at products. And here we'll take a look at, let's start with 3-year total revenue growth, all right? So the 3-year total revenue growth rate is 8.6. Now let's score this. So versus industry, yellow. So yellow, we have to score a 2. Now versus its history, we have an orange. So for an orange, we score a 1. Operation margin. So for operation margin, 31.93. So you guys, I'm not explaining what each metric means, all right? So this is for other opportunity. I'm just showing you guys how we use the color scheme to quantify and make this as easy as we can, all right? So let's take a look at the color scheme. So dark green and light green. So dark green versus its industry, operation margin, dark green, it's a 4. And light green versus its history, so we score this a 3. Now net margin here, 28.05. So 28.05. How do we score this? So we have, once again, dark green and dark green. So Intel is really making money versus its peers, or against its peers, and versus its historic activity, right? So dark green, we'll score it a 4 and a 4. So here we do have 75% good products for Intel. Now let's take a look at relative valuation. So what's the current price to earnings? And we have here the current price to earnings ratio for Intel is 10.6. So 10.6 versus its history, it's dark green, and versus the industry, it's light green, right? So light green, you score a 4, and dark green, we will score, we have it here, dark green, we will score a 5, right? So price to sales now. Price to sales ratio, we do have 2.98. What's the color versus its industry? We do have orange, right? So price sales orange, we score a 2. And versus its history, we have yellow. So for yellow, price sales versus its history, price sales yellow, we score a 3. All right. Now price to book. 2.72. So versus its against its peers. So we have orange. So price book versus industry, orange. We score a 2. Versus its history, we do have the yellow. All right. So price to book history, we do have the yellow. We score a 3. Now EV to EBITDA. So EV to EBITDA, here we have it, 6.73. 6.73. Let's score this versus its industry or against the industry, light green, and light green versus its history. So light green, so we have 4 and 4. 4 and 4. And again, 68%. So here is no surprise. We already knew that as a value investor, we can expect that the majority of the companies that we do analyze and we do grade are cheap compared to its historical price and against its peers. All right. So let's see how the company checklist is shaping up. All right. So here we do have overall a 66%. All right, for Intel. And no doubt that it's above average. It's really above the 50%. So it's really a good company to consider investing. Good quality, 82%. The dividend here is the only handicap because in our grading system does not overcomes the 50% barrier, so 48% for the dividend. However, management well above the average, really great products, 75%, and in terms of valuation, the company is fairly at discount, so 68%. So overall, 66%. It's really a good score. Now, what would be the fair value for this company? All right, so let's take a look. Now, the stock price, let's use, we can use Google Focus. So as today close, 45.54, so 45.54. We do have a current price to earnings of 1060, all right? 1060, and the industry price to earnings median is, so if we place the mouse on top of the line here, we do see that the median for the semiconductors, it's 1871, has been the median for the PE for the median for semiconductors, all right? So 1871. So we already see that Intel has a PE of 10.6. So compared to the industry, it's at discount. So if we just compare the current PE against the industry PE, Intel is really cheap, all right? So it's at 43% discount. But what about against its historical price to earnings. All right, so let's take a look. So the versus its history, we do see that the current PE is 10.6, but over the past 10 years, the median PE for Intel has been 13.47. So again, we can see that the stock is currently cheap compared to its historical price to earnings. But how cheap? All right, so let's take a look. So 13.47, 13.47, and it will give us a 21% discount compared to its historical price to earnings. Now let's take a look at the yield. So what has been the historic 13-year, or sometimes some companies don't have so much back, so we'll try to get as more to collect the most data that we can. So what has been the historic yield for Intel? So here again, if we scroll down, we do have a 2.73. So versus its history, we do see here that the last 10 years, the median dividend yield has been 2.94%, right? So 2.94%, and the current dividend yield is slightly lower, all right? So we have 2.73%. So this means that the company is 8% more expensive, all right? So we already saw this when we were looking at the dividend. Now let's take a look at Morningstar fair value for Intel. And we can see that the fair value is 65. So for Morningstar, Intel is undervalued at a 31% discount. So 65% is the fair value for Morningstar. So $65, not percent. So now we have the price earnings of the sector, and we can see that Intel is 43% if we just compare against its industry. But when we look back to its historical price to earnings, it's 21% cheaper, all right? However, when we analyze the dividend yield, we do see that the company is 8% expensive. And for Morningstar, the fair value is 65. It's 65. So we do see 43% cheap. So how can we, or how do we get into the fair value? Well, we have the current stock price, and the fair value is the sum of the discount, or how much expensive is the stock in different metrics. All right, so the fair value for Intel should be $61. So this gives us that the company is at 35% discount. So if we go back here to the main tab, where we do have now here all the information that we need to make a decision. So how good is Intel? Well, 66% overall is really, really good. So well above the 50% average, all right? So good quality company, good management, great products, cheap. However, in terms of dividend, it's not the best company, all right? But still, 35% discount with the fair value of 61. So when we, for example, we use this information in our watch list, so we do promote that you analyze as much as companies that you can. All right. So build up a watch list. So let's take let's input this data. So we have Intel and ENTC. So this is August 2019. So company checklist, we already saw. We do have 82. All right. So sorry guys. Company checklist, we have a 66%. So 66%. Then quality. So quality, we have 82. Now the dividend, 48. Next, management, 61. Now products, 75. And relative valuation, we have a 68. Fair price. So the fair price would be $61. So this gives us a 35% discount, correct? Yes, 35% discount. And here we can add some more information. So for Morningstar, the MOAT is wide. We do have a credit rating for Intel of A+, all right? So A+. So this is more extra information that give us to build up our database. So Morningstar fair value is 65. And we know that for Morningstar, the company is undervalued, all right? So undervalued. So it's important for us to build up a watch list, because then we can make decisions and we can see that the average, all right? So from our watch list database, in terms of company checklist, the average is 60, all right? So we have lots of different companies, different sectors, cyclicals, defensive, and having this average here help us, to see this in other perspectives. So regarding Intel, okay, it's well above, it's above average. So no doubt it's something to take into consideration, all right? In terms of company quality, well above the average. So here again, really nothing new, because we already know Intel is a really good company. However, when we look at the dividend is below the average, all right? So there are other companies here in our watch list that in terms of dividend are much better than Intel. Management, 61% comes in line into the average of the companies that we do have here on our watch list. Products, above, relative valuation, cheaper, all right, than average here. So overall, guys, this is really important, because again, if you remember when I start this video, I said there is no perfect stock. So when we examine the details of individual companies, different pieces of information tells different stories. Remember this? So when we look at this, no doubt that Intel is really, really a good company, but we need to have this into account, all right? So will we buy Intel? Well, Intel is a semiconductor, all right? So if we can find more companies in the same sector, right? then we can compare the overall company versus its peers, right? So if we then see that Intel has the highest score compared to its peers, then yeah, we should consider buying because the company is really, really good. Right? If we do find that there are some competitors that have a higher score, all right, or have a dividend above average, then you should consider buying that instead of Intel. All right. So again, it's important to understand how to grade stocks. Now, once again, it's a really simple concept using a color scheme. All right. The majority of the information is free from the internet, but I do suggest you subscribe to more stuff. So hope you enjoyed this video. We will record a few more to show us more examples how to grade stocks.